Y'all won't believe what just happened. Travis Scott just spent a night with the rats in prison, and the reason behind this experience is bound to leave you reeling in shock. It turns out that Travis Scott's middle name is Trouble, cause the rapper has a long-standing issue of violence and police run-ins. Travis' violent side first came to light during a concert at Lollapalooza in 2015. Picture this. A crowd full of people vibing to Travis Scott's performance, which are always lit by the way, when Travis decided to encourage his fans to break past the security and rush onto the stage. Luckily enough, the security managed to get the crowd under control pretty quickly and no one was injured. And guess what Travis Scott did afterward? He ran for his dear life. The cops caught up to him a few hours later, but he was left alone with a light pat on the back. Surprisingly, Travis Scott went on to repeat the same crime in 2017 after a show in Rogers, Arkansas. But this time, he didn't simply urge his fans to break past security, he started a full-on riot and was instantly arrested by the police for multiple charges including endangering the life of a minor, disorderly conduct, and starting a riot. Scott pleaded guilty in court and paid close to $7 grand to 2 people who suffered casualties at his show. 2 of the charges were eventually dropped in 2018. But since no one sustained a serious injury at his concert, Travis Scott went back to his old ways, and it wasn't long before he let the whole world know. In Stargazing, his 2018 song, Travis Scott rapped about how it ain't a mosh pit if it ain't no injuries. He went on to say, I got him stage diving out the nosebleeds. That goes to show how unconcerned he is about the physical health of his patients. Why would anyone claim that he's got his fans doling out nosebleeds like they're caddies at a Halloween party when their lives are at stake? But then again, that doesn't stop people from going to Travis Scott's concerts and forming these mosh pits that he's so fond of. To put it in simpler terms, a mosh pit is usually made up of a group of violent dancers who form concentric circles like an onion and rotate around each other. As the music picks up more intensity, dancers are thrown back and forth between moshers on each side of them until more people join in and the circle eventually grows bigger. Despite the dangers associated with the so-called mosh pits, they're quite intriguing to watch, especially when viewed from above because they take on the appearance of a tornado. On the 7th of November in 2021, Travis Scott was performing at Astroworld for about 50,000 spectators when he broke off his song and suggested that they start a mosh pit. The crowd, either eager to get a nosebleed and $7,000 or simply feeling the groove of the moment, went crazy. One of the attendees would later describe the mosh pit at Astroworld as a massive death trap. And that might as well be the understatement of the decade cause 8 people died at the concert. Unsurprisingly, Travis Scott was arrested by cops for the umpteenth time in a row, and let me tell you, he was a whole new shade of crazy. He didn't just get slapped with charges of reckless conduct, he was also sentenced to 1 year of court supervision. One would expect Travis Scott to desist from his wrongdoings, especially after 8 lives were lost, but instead his tale was the one of the classic leopard who couldn't change his stripes. But then again, moshing has been killing people for decades, and it doesn't look like it's bound to stop anytime soon. As far as back as 1979, eager spectators rushed into Cincinnati's Riverfront Coliseum in hopes of watching a performance by The Who. Unfortunately, many were injured as people tripped and were walked over while others rushed into the venue. The same thing happened at Pearl Jam's concert back in 2000 when 8 teenagers were suffocated in a mosh pit. After the members of Pearl Jam learned about it, they brought their show to an abrupt end and asked the crowd to take 3 large steps backward to avoid hurting anyone else, but then the harm was already done. The most notable incident so far was Ariana's Dangerous Woman tour in Manchester, when all hell broke loose right after Ariana walked off the stage. Although for totally different reasons. While Ariana would never urge her fans to be violent, one of her spectators had a mind of his own. A suicide bomber in the crowd set off a homemade bomb, which killed 23 people on the spot. More than 1,000 people were hurt, and a lot of them were kids. Later on, Ariana held a fundraiser that raised millions of dollars, and Manchester made a lot of changes to improve its security system at a large-scale events. It's crazy how Ariana was willing to act so selflessly, even though she didn't instigate any violent acts.
The most special thing I've ever been a part of was the Manchester concert. Ariana, who I had dinner with last night, she knows this. I always tell her and she, gets emotional, but she'll always be a hero to me because she could have stayed home after that. She met those kids. She was there. She was traumatized. I asked her to do a concert 2 weeks later in response to terrorism. That's a very unfair ask. But I was angry, and I didn't want it to, but it was an unfair ask. And she said no at first, and then 2 days later called me and says, I'm not who I say I am unless I do this. We need to do this. And all those artists showed up. But I always say the hero was the city of Manchester, because people forget the London terror attack was the night before that concert. And the British government put a full alert on saying you can go to the concert, but there is likely an attack. That is what the Greater Manchester Police put out as a bulletin. And I thought no one's going to show up. We're putting this on, it's on BBC. You can sit at home and watch this magnificent concert and be safe. And when Marcus Mumford took the stage to open it up for us, it was filled with like 66,000 people.
Ariana even confessed to developing post-traumatic stress disorder after the event because she was just so traumatized by the whole affair. Unfortunately, it's pretty much a normal thing for senseless acts of violence to break out at live events these days, regardless of how harmless they are. Even though most events have a lot of safety measures in place, live music has a terrible history of being violent. The only reason why we don't have more of these tragic occurrences is because, in contrast to Travis Scott, many performers choose to warn their fans about these problems or step before it's too late while putting safety first. This is probably the reason why when celebrities spoke out about the tragedy, none of them attacked Travis Scott for his irresponsible conduct. When author and former Real Housewives of New York star Bethany Frankel heard that young Israel Blunt had been hurt on the Astroworld tour, she chose to make a donation. On her Instagram story, Frankel stated, "I'm reading about this 9-year-old boy Israel Blunt who was at the disastrous concert," before going on to say, "Be Strong is going to donate $10,000 to Israel's family." Travis Scott, who offered full refunds to people who attended the concert, while lawsuits filed in like troops to a battlefield. Drake, who made an unexpected appearance on the show, decided to speak out about the devastating tragedy. In a post on Instagram that has now been deleted, he revealed that he's been struggling to replay the entire ordeal for a long while. He also went on to say, "I hate resorting to this platform to express an emotion as delicate as grief, but this is where I find myself. My heart is broken for the families and friends of those who lost their lives and for anyone who is suffering. I will continue to pray for all of them and will be of service in any way I can. May God be with you all." At least 17 lawsuits were filed by concertgoers who blamed Scott, Live Nation, Scoremore, and others for the large mosh pit that sparked the tragedy. Roddy Ricch, who performed on the first day of the event, also stated on Instagram that he will be giving his net pay to the families of the victims who died in his accident. While Travis Scott is yet to instigate a mosh pit at another one of his concerts, especially after what happened back in 2021, that didn't stop him from acting recklessly in following years. Just recently, Travis Scott traveled to Paris for the Olympics, where he watched the United States basketball match. But not long after the event, when Travis should have been chilling in the pool or enjoying his expensive vacation, he got into a heated exchange with his bodyguard, which was so serious that one of the hotel security guards was forced to intervene, and that goes to show how heated it was, because even when the Diddy and Cassie footage was captured, the hotel security didn't do anything to stop it. Now, you're probably expecting to hear that Travis settled the fight like a good old-fashioned man, but nope. Rumor has it that things got so bad that the hotel decided to call the police to take care of it. And when the police finally arrived at the George's V Hotel, they decided to detain Travis Scott for assaulting a security guard. But that's not even the least of his atrocities. Just a few months back, Scott was arrested in Miami Beach for misdemeanor charges of trespassing and public intoxication. The cops later released a statement saying they found him at the city's marina swearing at people on a boat, and to make matters worse, he kept ignoring them even after they told him to leave. I guess it's pretty much obvious at this point that Travis Scott's personality tends towards the aggressive side, and if they hold his previous crimes against him, he might actually end up going to jail for real this time. But what do you think? Was Travis Scott acting recklessly, or is he just playing a passive role in the naturally aggressive hip-hop culture? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for instant notifications on new videos.